You want us to do what now? Dr. Eliza Chen's voice dripped with sarcasm as she stared at the holographic image of Dean Zixar, his tentacles writhing in what she'd come to recognize as the Arcturian equivalent of an eager grin. It's simple. Dr. Chen, the Dean's voice crackled through the comm system. We want to introduce Earth pets as companion animals for our alien students at the Galactic University of Xena Studies. Eliza pinched the bridge of her nose, a gesture that never failed to fascinate her alien colleagues. Let me get this straight. You want us to bring animals from Earth, the planet everyone calls a death world, to be companions for students from all over the galaxy? Have you lost your mind, or just your sense of self-preservation? Oh, come now. Dr. Chen Zixar's tentacles wiggled with amusement. After the resounding success of the Earth delegation's pet presentation at the Galactic Cultural Exchange last year, the Board of Regents is convinced this could revolutionize student well-being. Eliza groaned, remembering the chaos that had ensued after that infamous pet show. It had taken months to convince some species that not all Earth animals were secretly plotting galactic domination. That was a controlled environment with trained professionals. This is a university campus full of young, impressionable aliens. Do you have any idea how many ways this could go wrong? That's precisely why we need you, Dr. Chen Zixar said, his voice taking on a wheedling tone. As our leading expert in xenobiology and Earth fauna, you're the perfect person to oversee this project. Think of it as a grand experiment in interspecies bonding. Eliza sighed, realizing she was fighting a losing battle. Fine. But when this inevitably turns into an intergalactic incident, I'm blaming you. Splendid. Zixar's tentacles wiggled with delight. I'll have my assistant send over the details. Oh, and Dr. Chen, do try to have fun with this. Zixar out. As the hologram flickered out, Eliza turned to face her research team, all of whom were trying and failing to hide their grins. All right, you lot, she sighed. Looks like we're going to be running a glorified pet sitting service. Any volunteers to help me explain to a Zigonian why they shouldn't try to telepathically communicate with a goldfish? The resulting chaos of enthusiastic shouts, laughter, and what sounded suspiciously like a bark from the xenobiology lab told Eliza this was going to be a very long semester indeed. 3 months later, Eliza found herself standing in the middle of the Galactic University's main quad, surrounded by a menagerie of Earth animals and a sea of excited alien students. The air was filled with a cacophony of barks, meows, chirps, and the various sounds of amazement and confusion from the assembled extraterrestrial learners. Remind me again why I agreed to this, Eliza muttered to her assistant, a young Vexlorian named Zara, whose color-changing skin currently displayed a pattern of excited swirls. Because deep down, beneath that cynical exterior, you're a softie who can't resist a good scientific challenge, Zara offered, her antennae twitching with amusement. I'll show you cynical exterior, Eliza grumbled, but there was no heat in her words. Despite her reservations, a part of her was looking forward to seeing how this experiment would unfold. If nothing else, it promised to be entertaining. Their banter was interrupted by Dean Zixar's amplified voice. Welcome, students of the Galactic University of Xena Studies. Today marks the beginning of a grand experiment in interspecies companionship, thanks to the efforts of Dr. Chen and her team. Each of you will have the opportunity to be paired with an Earth animal companion for the duration of the semester. A ripple of excited murmurs swept through the crowd. Eliza took a deep breath, steeling herself for the chaos that was about to unfold. Now, Zixar continued, Dr. Chen will explain the process and introduce you to the various Earth species available. Remember, these animals are not mere playthings, but intelligent, feeling creatures deserving of respect and care. Dr. Chen, if you would. Eliza stepped forward, surveying the sea of alien faces and other sensory appendages before her. She cleared her throat and decided to dive right in. Greetings, students. As Dean Zixar mentioned, I'm Dr. Eliza Chen, head of xenobiology here at GUX. Today we'll be introducing you to a variety of Earth animals that have been specially selected and trained for this program. She gestured to the assortment of creatures around her. We have dogs, known for their loyalty and affection, cats, prized for their independence and calming presence, rabbits, gentle and low-maintenance parrots, intelligent and talkative, and even a few reptiles for those of you interested in less traditional pets. A Trilaxian student near the front raised a tentacle. Excuse me, Dr. Chen, but aren't Earth creatures dangerous? I've heard stories about your planet's wildlife. Eliza bit back a grin. Ah, yes, the famous Death World reputation. While it's true that Earth has its share of dangerous animals, the ones we brought here are domesticated species that have coexisted with humans for thousands of years. They're safe, I assure you. She paused, then added with a touch of humor, although I'd advise against surprising a cat while it's napping. They can be a bit grumpy. This earned a ripple of nervous laughter from the crowd. Encouraged, Eliza continued her introduction, explaining the basics of pet care, the matching process they'd be using to pair students with compatible animals, and the support systems in place to help both pets and alien caretakers adapt to each other. As she spoke, she could see the initial apprehension in the student's eyes or equivalent sensory organs giving way to curiosity and excitement. Maybe, just maybe, this crazy idea would work out after all. All right, she said, clapping her hands together. Let's begin the matching process. Who wants to go first? There was a moment of hesitation. Then a small, timid-looking Zelbian stepped forward. The creature, resembling a cross between a jellyfish and a sunflower, wobbled nervously on its tentacle-like appendages. I would like to try, it said in a soft, melodious voice. Eliza smiled encouragingly. Excellent. What's your name? Ziltia, the Zelbian replied, its bioluminescent petals pulsing with a mix of anxiety and excitement. Well, Ziltia, let's find you a companion, Eliza said, leading the alien towards the array of Earth animals. Do you have any preferences? Something furry, feathered, or scaly, perhaps? Ziltia's eye stalk swiveled, taking in the menagerie before it. I'm not sure. They all look so strange and wonderful. What would you recommend for someone who gets nervous easily? Eliza considered for a moment. I think I have just the thing. She gestured to a nearby enclosure where several fluffy rabbits were contentedly munching on lettuce leaves. How about a rabbit? They're gentle, quiet, and very soothing to pet. Ziltea's petals perked up with interest. Oh, it looks so soft. But will it be okay with my, slightly gelatinous composition? Let's find out, shall we? Eliza said, carefully picking up a placid-looking lop-eared rabbit. This is Flopsy. Flopsy, meet Ziltea. She gently placed the rabbit in front of the Axelbian. For a moment, both creatures regarded each other with curiosity. Then, to everyone's surprise, Flopsy hopped forward and nuzzled one of Ziltea's lower tentacles. Zilta let out a sound like tinkling wind chimes, apparently the Selbian equivalent of a delighted giggle. Oh, it tickles, and it's so warm. Eliza grinned, watching as Zilta hesitantly stroked Flopsy's fur with a gelatinous appendage. The rabbit, far from being bothered by the alien touch, seemed to be thoroughly enjoying the attention. Well, it looks like we have our first successful match, Eliza announced, drawing a round of approving murmurs from the watching students. Encouraged by Ziltea's success, other students began to step forward, each eager to find their own Earth companion. A towering Vraxian, its rock-like skin glittering with embedded crystals, approached next. I require a robust companion, it rumbled in a voice like grinding boulders, one that will not shatter at my touch. Eliza nodded, unfazed. I think I have just the thing for you. She led the Vraxian to a pen containing several large dogs. How about a Great Dane? They're one of the largest dog breeds we have, known for their gentle nature despite their size. The Vraxian's crystal facets glowed with interest as a sleek, black Great Dane padded over to investigate. The dog, showing no fear of the living mountain before it, sat down and offered its paw. After a moment of confusion, the Vraxian carefully extended a rocky appendage. The Great Dane placed its paw in the alien's hand, tail wagging happily. This creature shows admirable bravery, the Vraxian declared, its crystals pulsing with approval. It will make a fine companion. As Eliza helped the unlikely pair get acquainted, she couldn't help but marvel at the scene unfolding around her. All across the quad, Earth animals and alien students were forming bonds she would never have thought possible. A group of avian Quetzalians, with their iridescent feathers and long, sinuous necks, were utterly fascinated by a clouder of cats. The felines, for their part, seemed to have decided that the aliens' feathers made excellent toys, leading to an amusing game of interspecies tag. Nearby, a gelatinous blob from Epsilon eridani, the species, hadn't bothered with a more creative name, was attempting to play fetch with a corgi. The fact that the blob had no discernible limbs to throw with didn't seem to deter, either party's enthusiasm. Even the more unusual pairings were working out in surprising ways. A methane-breathing tripod from Barnard's star had taken a shine to a ball python, the two creatures comparing notes on the finer points of heat regulation and flexible locomotion. As Eliza moved through the crowd, offering advice and making introductions, she found herself repeatedly amazed by the adaptability of both the Earth animals and the alien students. Species that had evolved on worlds light years apart were finding common ground in the simple joys of companionship. Dr. Chen. Dr. Chen, Zara called, bounding over with her skin flashing excited patterns. "You've got to see this." Eliza allowed herself to be dragged across the quad to where a small crowd had gathered. Pushing through, she found herself face to face with one of the more unusual scenes she'd witnessed in her xenobiology career, and that was saying something. A hive mind collective from Tau Ceti, consisting of thousands of tiny insectoid creatures working in perfect unison, was engaged in what could only be described as an epic game of chess with a particularly clever border collie. The hive mind moved pieces by forming themselves into a vaguely humanoid shape, while the dog used its mouth to carefully maneuver its chess pieces. Both sides appeared to be deep in concentration, with the alien students around them placing bets on the outcome. "Incredible," Eliza murmured, watching as the border collie skillfully captured the hive mind's bishop. "I knew border collies were smart, but this is beyond anything I expected." "Oh, it gets better," Zara said, her antennae quivering with excitement. "Watch what happens when they finish a game." As if on cue, the border collie made a final move, barking softly. The hive mind rippled, its constituent parts shifting in what Eliza recognized as surprise. Then, to her amazement, it reformed into the shape of a giant hand, reaching out to shake the dog's paw. They're learning from each other, Eliza realized, her scientific mind racing with the implications. The hive mind is picking up Earth gestures, and the dog, is it actually grasping multi-dimensional chess strategies? Zara nodded enthusiastically. "It's happening all over the campus, Dr. Chen. The Earth animals are adapting to alien behaviors, and the aliens are picking up Earth customs. It's like they're creating their own unique culture." Eliza shook her head in wonder. When she'd agreed to this crazy scheme, she'd hoped for successful coexistence at best. This level of mutual adaptation and learning was beyond her wildest expectations. As she continued her rounds, more incredible interactions caught her eye. A group of photosynthetic philosophers from Kepler 186f had set up a meditation circle with several cats, all basking contentedly in a patch of sunlight. The aliens' leaf-like appendages gently swayed in rhythm with the cats purring, creating a scene of perfect, interspecies zen. Nearby, a quantum fluctuation entity, a being that existed in a state of probabilistic flux, was having the time of its multidimensional life playing hide and seek with a pair of ferrets. The ferrets seemed utterly unfazed by their playmates' tendency to pop in and out of existence, treating it as just another exciting part of the game. Even the campus architecture was being put to new use. A group of gravity-defying arachnoids from HD 4307G had constructed an elaborate web between two buildings, which they were using to play an aerial version of fetch with a team of enthusiastic Jack Russell Terriers. As the day wore on, Eliza found her initial skepticism giving way to a sense of wonder and hope. Yes, there had been a few minor hiccups, like the telepathic cephalopod who had to be gently reminded that trying to read a goldfish's mind was an exercise in futility, or the antimatter entity who needed a crash course in why it couldn't play with the matter-based animals. But overall, the experiment was proving to be a resounding success. As the twin suns of the university's planet began to set, casting a warm, purple glow across the campus, Eliza gathered her team for a quick debrief. "Well, folks," she said, unable to keep the smile from her face, "I think it's safe to say this was not the unmitigated disaster I was expecting. Any observations to report?" Zara, her skin now a calm blue with excited yellow swirls, was the first to speak up. "Dr. Chen, the rate of interspecies learning is off the charts. The Hive Mind Collective has already mastered 5 different Earth languages just from interacting with the parrots. And get this, they're teaching the parrots their own language in return." Dr. Zorax, a Luminian whose bioluminescent tendrils were pulsing with enthusiasm, chimed in. "The emotional benefits are remarkable as well. I've been monitoring the stress levels of our more anxiety-prone species, and they've decreased by an average of 73% since being paired with their Earth companions. Not to mention the physical benefits," added Dr. Kale Ricks, a Vespa form whose wings were buzzing with excitement. The sedentary silicoids from Kepler 62f have shown a 200% increase in mobility since we introduced them to the concept of walkies with the dogs. Eliza nodded, taking it all in. Excellent work, everyone. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We still have a full semester ahead of us, and I'm sure there will be challenges we haven't even thought of yet. As if on cue, a frantic Mercurian student came running up to the group, its mercury-like body rippling with agitation. Dr. Chen, it burbled, I need your help. My Earth companion, it's... Calm down, Eliza said soothingly. Take a deep breath or whatever the Mercurian equivalent is. Now, what seems to be the problem? The Mercurian's surface rippled in what Eliza had learned was their version of a deep breath. It's my companion, the cat as you call it. It was fine one moment, and the next it just fell asleep. Is it dying? Did I do something wrong? Eliza bit back a chuckle. Ah, I see. No need to worry. This is perfectly normal behavior for cats. They sleep for up to 16 hours a day. The Mercurian's surface went still with shock. 16 hours. But that's 66.67% of an Earth day. How do they get anything done? Well, Eliza explained patiently, cats are crepuscular, meaning they're most active during twilight hours. They've evolved to sleep a lot to conserve energy for hunting. The Mercurian's surface rippled with a mix of fear and fascination. But I thought these were peaceful creatures. Eliza sighed, realizing she had some explaining to do. They are peaceful, at least domestic cats are. But they still retain many of their wild instincts. It's part of what makes them such fascinating companions. As she launched into a brief lecture on feline biology and behavior, Eliza couldn't help but reflect on the beautiful absurdity of the situation. Here she was, explaining the sleeping habits of house cats to a sentient puddle of mercury on an alien world. If someone had told her this would be part of her job description when she entered the field of xenobiology, she would have laughed them out of the room. Yet, as she watched the Mercurian's surface shift from worry to understanding to excitement, she felt a warmth in her chest that had nothing to do with the setting suns. This was why she had become a scientist in the first place, to explore, to learn, to bridge gaps in understanding. As the Mercurian hurried off, eager to observe its feline friend's sleeping patterns, Eliza turned back to her team. All right, folks, I think we've had enough excitement for one day. Let's call it a night and meet back here tomorrow morning. Something tells me we're going to have our hands full. The team dispersed, each member heading off to their respective quarters. Eliza lingered for a moment, taking in the scene around her. All across the campus, alien students were settling in with their new Earth companions. She saw a crystalline harmonizer gently strumming a lullaby for a sleepy golden retriever, a pair of phase-shifting twins playing a game of three-dimensional fetch with an enthusiastic border collie, and a gaseous collective forming itself into a perfect cat bed for its purring companion. As she turned to leave, a familiar voice called out, "Dr. Chen, a moment of your time, if you please." Eliza turned to see Dean Zixar approaching, his tentacles waving in what she now recognized as excitement. "Dean Zixar," she greeted him, "I hope you're satisfied with the results of your grand experiment so far." The Dean's eye stalks wobbled with amusement. "Oh, more than satisfied, Dr. Chen. I'm positively ecstatic. The Board of Regents has been monitoring the situation, and they're thrilled with the outcomes we're seeing." Eliza raised an eyebrow. "Is that so? And here I thought they'd be more concerned with the potential risks of introducing Earth fauna to an alien environment." Zixar's tentacles waved dismissively. "Risks? My dear Dr. Chen, what we're witnessing here goes far beyond mere interspecies companionship. We're seeing the birth of a new form of cultural exchange." Eliza had to admit, the Dean had a point. In just one day, she had seen more genuine interaction and mutual understanding between species than in years of formal diplomatic relations. "You may be right," she conceded. "But we're still in the early stages. There's a lot that could go wrong." "Ah." Ever the cautious scientist Zixar said, his voice tinged with fondness. "But that's why you're perfect for this project. Your careful oversight combined with the natural adaptability of both Earth animals and our students. It's a recipe for success." Eliza couldn't help but smile. "Well, when you put it that way, it does sound rather promising. But don't think this means I'll stop worrying. Someone has to be prepared for when the quantum fluctuation entity accidentally teleports half the squirrels to another dimension. Zixar let out a burbling laugh. And that, Dr. Chen, is why you're in charge. Now, get some rest. I have a feeling tomorrow is going to be even more interesting. As the dean wandered off, his tentacles waving cheerfully to a group of students playing frisbee with a very excited Labrador, Eliza found herself reflecting on the day's events. When she'd first heard about this project, she'd thought it was a recipe for disaster. Introducing animals from Earth, a planet so harsh it was classified as a death world, to a bunch of alien students seemed like the plot of a bad science fiction comedy. But watching the interactions unfold, seeing the bonds form between species that had evolved light years apart, Eliza realized she was witnessing something truly remarkable. It wasn't just about pets providing comfort or companionship, though that was certainly part of it. What she was seeing was the breaking down of barriers, the challenging of preconceptions, the birth of new forms of communication and understanding. These Earth animals, creatures that had evolved on a world that the rest of the galaxy viewed as brutally dangerous, were proving to be the perfect bridges between vastly different forms of life. Their adaptability, their capacity for affection, their simple joy in play and companionship, these were universal languages that transcended the barriers of biology and culture. As Eliza finally turned to head to her own quarters, she found herself feeling something she hadn't expected when this all began: hope. Hope for the future of interspecies relations, hope for greater understanding between the myriad forms of life in the galaxy, and hope that maybe, just maybe, Earth's reputation as a death world could be balanced by an appreciation for the incredible diversity and adaptability of its life forms. She chuckled to herself as she walked, imagining trying to explain all this to her colleagues back on Earth. Yes, we've solved the problem of interstellar diplomacy. The secret? Cats, dogs, and the occasional well-placed rabbit. As she reached her door, she heard a soft meow. Looking down, she saw a small tabby cat, one of the animals brought for the project, sitting patiently at her feet. "Well, hello there," she said, kneeling down to scratch behind its ears. "And what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be with your alien student?" The cat merely purred in response, rubbing against her hand. Eliza sighed, a smile tugging at her lips. "All right, come on in, but don't think this means you can stay. I'm not about to let Earth fauna take over my quarters too." As she opened the door and the cat sauntered in, like it owned the place, Eliza couldn't help but laugh. It seemed that even she, the skeptical scientist, wasn't immune to the charms of Earth's animal ambassadors. The following weeks brought a whirlwind of activity, challenges, and unexpected developments that kept Eliza and her team on their toes. One particularly memorable incident occurred during the third week of the semester. Eliza was in her office, reviewing data on the latest interspecies interactions, when Zara burst in, her skin flashing alarming patterns of red and orange. "Dr. Chen, we have a situation in the quantum physics lab." Eliza was on her feet in an instant. "What's happened? Don't tell me the antimatter entity finally managed to annihilate something." Zara shook her head, her antennae quivering. "No, well, you'd better come see for yourself." Hurrying across campus, Eliza braced herself for the worst. What she found, however, was beyond anything she could have imagined. The quantum physics lab was in a state of controlled chaos. Students of various species were gathered around a large, complex machine that Eliza recognized as a quantum entanglement demonstrator. And at the center of it all was a very smug-looking cat, somehow occupying multiple states of existence simultaneously. "Is that?" Schrödinger, Eliza asked, recognizing the distinctive markings of one of the project's cats. A tachyonic theorist, its body a blur of faster-than-light particles, nodded enthusiastically. "Indeed, we were attempting to demonstrate quantum superposition when Schrödinger here decided to participate in the experiment. And well, the results are rather extraordinary." Eliza watched in amazement as the cat seemed to phase in and out of reality, existing in multiple places at once, yet remaining perfectly calm and content. "This is unprecedented," exclaimed a probability warper, its form shifting between various potential states. "The feline appears to have a natural affinity for quantum mechanics. It's maintaining a stable superposition state without any external support." Eliza pinched the bridge of her nose, feeling a headache coming on. "Let me get this straight. You're telling me that this cat has not only understood and replicated a complex quantum physics experiment, but has actually improved upon it. The assembled students nodded eagerly. Well, Eliza said, a note of resigned amusement in her voice, I suppose we should be grateful it's not a box of radioactive material this time. As the students excitedly began discussing the implications of their feline-assisted breakthrough, Eliza couldn't help but marvel at the absurdity of it all. Here they were, on an alien world, watching an Earth housecat casually defy the laws of physics. You know, she mused to Zara, who was watching the scene with fascinated horror, when I agreed to this project, I expected a few surprises. But I never thought I'd be filling out an incident report titled Cat Achieves Quantum Supremacy. Zara's skin rippled with what Eliza had come to recognize as the Vexlorian equivalent of a snort. Just wait until you see what the parrots have been up to in the linguistics department. Eliza groaned. Do I want to know? Let's just say they've developed a pidgin language that combines elements of 17 different alien dialects, 3 Earth languages, and what we're pretty sure is interpretive dance. As they left the quantum physics lab after carefully extracting Schrödinger from his multidimensional state, Eliza reflected on how quickly she'd become accustomed to the extraordinary becoming ordinary. The following days brought more surprises, each more delightful and perplexing than the last. In the botany department, a group of photosynthetic philosophers had taken to meditating with a collection of bonsai trees, claiming that the ancient earth art form held the key to understanding the nature of time and growth. The athletics department reported that the gravity-defying arachnoids had started a new sport that combined elements of Earth basketball, alien web spinning techniques, and what appeared to be interpretive juggling. They were calling it Cosmic Hoop Web, and it was quickly becoming the most popular spectator sport on campus. Even the cafeteria wasn't immune to the wave of interspecies innovation. The head chef, a gastronaut from Betelgeuse, had collaborated with a golden retriever to create a new dish that appealed to 17 different alien physiologies. How the dog had contributed to the culinary process was a mystery, but the results were undeniably delicious. As the semester progressed, news of the university's successful Earth Pet Integration program began to spread across the galaxy. Soon, Eliza found herself fielding calls from other educational institutions, diplomatic corps, and even a few intergalactic corporations, all eager to learn more about the potential of Earth animals as cross-species liaisons. You realize what this means, don't you? Zara said one day, as they watched a group of telepathic cephalopods engaged in what appeared to be a deeply philosophical discussion with a wise-looking old tabby cat. Eliza raised an eyebrow. That we're going to be very busy writing research papers for the next decade. Zara's skin flickered with amusement. Well, yes, that too. But I meant on a larger scale. Dr. Chen, we might have just revolutionized intergalactic relations. Eliza pondered this for a moment. It was true that the presence of Earth animals on campus had led to unprecedented levels of cooperation and understanding between vastly different species. As barriers that had seemed insurmountable were being broken down daily, all thanks to the simple, unconditional affection of a dog, the playful curiosity of a cat, or the soothing presence of a rabbit. You know, Eliza said slowly, when humans first ventured into space, we thought we'd be the ones teaching the galaxy about cooperation and understanding. We never imagined our pets would be the ones leading the way. Zara's antennae twitched thoughtfully. Perhaps that's why it works so well. These animals don't come with the baggage of interstellar politics or cultural misunderstandings. They just are, and in being themselves, they allow others to be themselves too. Eliza nodded, a smile tugging at her lips. I suppose there's a lesson in there for all of us, isn't there? As they turned to head back to the lab, a commotion near the physics building caught their attention. A group of students was gathered around something, their voices raised in excitement. Oh no, Eliza muttered, quickening her pace. What now? Has Schrödinger decided to test the many worlds theory? But as they approached, they realized it wasn't Schrödinger causing the stir. Instead, they found a small, fluffy puppy sitting in the middle of the group, wagging its tail and looking up at the assembled aliens with adorable confusion. Dr. Chen, Zara said, her skin cycling through a rainbow of confused colors. I don't remember us bringing any puppies to campus. Eliza felt a headache coming on. We didn't. A quantum probability analyst stepped forward, its multifaceted eyes glittering with excitement. Dr. Chen, you won't believe this. We were running a simulation on parallel universes when suddenly pop. This little creature appeared out of nowhere. Eliza stared at the puppy, which chose that moment to let out an adorable yap and roll onto its back, clearly asking for belly rubs. Several alien students immediately obliged, their various appendages gently stroking the puppy's fur. "Are you telling me," Eliza said slowly, "that you accidentally pulled a puppy from a parallel universe?" The quantum probability analyst bobbed its head enthusiastically. "Isn't it wonderful? We've achieved trans-dimensional travel. And look how cute it is." Eliza pinched the bridge of her nose, wondering how she was going to explain this in her next report to the dean. "Wonderful. Fantastic. Now, does anyone have any idea how to send it back?" The assembled students looked at each other, then back at the puppy, which was now thoroughly enjoying the attention of a dozen different alien species. The quantum probability analyst said hesitantly, "Do we have to?" Eliza looked at the puppy, then at the hopeful faces of the students, then back at the puppy. She thought about the mountain of paperwork this was going to generate, the inevitable ethical discussions about trans-dimensional pet adoption, and the very real possibility that they'd just opened a portal to a universe full of adorable animals. Then she thought about the joy on the faces of the alien students, the bridges being built between species, and the sheer, wonderful absurdity of it all. A slow smile spread across her face. "You know what? Why not? But someone's going to have to explain to the dean why we now have a trans-dimensional puppy adoption program." The students cheered. The puppy barked happily, and Eliza found herself wondering, not for the first time, how her life had become so wonderfully bizarre. As the semester drew to a close, Eliza stood on a small stage in the university's grand auditorium, facing a sea of alien faces and other sensory appendages. Behind her, a large screen displayed images and videos of the past few months' most memorable moments. "When we began this experiment," she started, her voice carrying across the packed hall, "I had my doubts. Okay, let's be honest, I thought it was going to be a complete disaster." A ripple of laughter and various alien equivalents ran through the crowd. "But you," she continued, gesturing to the assembled students and their earth animal companions, "you proved me wrong, in ways I could never have imagined." The screen behind her flicked through images, the hive mind collective playing chess with a border collie, the photosynthetic philosophers meditating with cats, the quantum fluctuation entity and its ferret friends phasing in and out of reality. You didn't just adapt to these creatures from a world so different from your own. You embraced them. You learned from them, and in doing so, you taught us something profound about the nature of companionship, of understanding, of life itself." She paused, looking out at the audience. She saw Zil Ta, the timid Selbian, confidently stroking Flopsy the rabbit. The Vraxian, its crystalline body glittering, sat with its Great Dane companion draped across its lap like a small, furry mountain. Even the antimatter entity had found a friend in a particularly adventurous hamster, the two of them existing in a careful balance of matter and antimatter. "We call Earth a death world," Eliza continued, "and it's true that our planet can be harsh and unforgiving. But what you've shown us is that even in the face of such challenges, life finds a way, not just to survive, but to thrive, to connect, to love." She gestured to the trans-dimensional puppy, now grown into a gangly adolescent and sitting proudly beside the quantum probability analyst. "You've shown us that the bonds of friendship and companionship can transcend not just species, but dimensions. You've rewritten the laws of physics, of biology, of social interaction." The screen behind her showed a montage of the semester's breakthrough moments: Schrödinger the cat's quantum adventures, the parrot's multilingual innovations, the birth of cosmic hoop web. "But more than that," Eliza said, her voice softening, "you've shown us the true meaning of what it means to be a death worlder. It's not about being the strongest, or the most resilient, or the most dangerous. It's about facing challenges with creativity, with humor, with an open heart and mind." She smiled, looking at each of her team members in turn. Zara, her skin a kaleidoscope of proud colors. Dr. Jorax, his bioluminescent tendrils pulsing with joy. Dr. Kaelrix, wings buzzing with excitement. "When we first introduced these Earth animals to you, we thought we were embarking on a simple companion program. What we've created instead is a new model for interspecies cooperation, for galactic harmony. You've taken creatures from a world known for its harshness and turned them into ambassadors of peace, understanding, and joy." Eliza paused, allowing her words to sink in. The auditorium was silent, every being present hanging on her words. So yes, we come from a death world. But what you've all proven is that even in the harshest environments, life finds a way to create connections, to build bridges, to thrive. And if we can do that here, in this small corner of the universe, imagine what we can achieve out there among the stars. She gestured towards the ceiling, where the night sky was visible through the transparent dome, countless stars twinkling in the darkness. As we move forward, let's carry this lesson with us. Let's remember that sometimes the most profound insights come from the most unexpected sources, that even the smallest, furriest, or scaliest of creatures can teach us something about being better sentient beings. Eliza took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. So here's to you, students of the Galactic University of Xenostudies, and to your Earth companions. You've not only passed this experiment with flying colors, you've rewritten the textbook entirely. The auditorium erupted in applause, cheers, and a cacophony of animal sounds. Eliza watched as students hugged their pets, as alien appendages of all kinds patted furry, feathered, and scaly heads. As she stepped down from the stage, Dean Zixar approached her, his tentacles waving in what she now recognized as profound emotion. "Dr. Chen," he said, his voice thick with feeling, "I owe you an apology. When I first proposed this idea, I thought it would be a simple way to improve student morale. I never imagined this." Eliza smiled, watching as a group of students from 17 different species organized an impromptu dance party, with Earth pets and alien students alike joining in the fun. "Neither did I," Dean, she admitted. "But I'm glad we were both wrong." Zixar's eye stalks wobbled with amusement. "So, Dr. Chen, what's next? Shall we expand the program? Perhaps introduce Earth flora to go along with the fauna?" Eliza laughed, imagining the chaos that would ensue if they introduced poison ivy or Venus flytraps to the alien ecosystem. "Let's not get ahead of ourselves, Dean," although she trailed off, a mischievous glint in her eye. Although Zixar prompted, his tentacles twitching with curiosity. "Well," Eliza said slowly, "I did receive an interesting proposal from the quantum probability analysts, something about exploring parallel Earths for new species." Zixar's tentacles went still for a moment, then began waving with unbridled excitement. "Dr. Chen, are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting?" Eliza grinned. "Why not? After all, we've already got one trans-dimensional puppy. What's a few more parallel universe pets between friends?" As Zixar launched into an excited monologue about the possibilities, Eliza found her gaze drawn back to the celebrating students and their animal companions. She thought about how far they'd come, about the bridges they'd built, the barriers they'd broken down. And as she watched a crystalline harmonizer attempt to teach a group of kittens how to sing in perfect resonance, Eliza Chen, xenobiologist extraordinaire, felt a warmth in her chest that had nothing to do with the three suns setting outside. This, she realized, was what it truly meant to be from a death world. Not just to survive against all odds, but to thrive, to adapt, to find joy and connection in the most unlikely of places. To take the harsh lessons of a dangerous world and transform them into tools for building a better, more interconnected universe. As the celebration continued around her, Eliza made a mental note to update her official title. Head of Xenobiology seemed a bit limited now. Perhaps Director of Intergalactic Pathology and Parallel Universe Companion Studies would be more fitting. After all, in a universe where cats could bend quantum physics and puppies could traverse dimensions, anything was possible. And Eliza Chen, along with her motley crew of alien students and Earth pets, was ready to explore every wonderful, fur-covered, feather-filled, scale-laden possibility. The Death Worlders had come to the stars not with weapons or threats, but with wagging tails, purring companions, and an endless capacity for love. And the galaxy, it seemed, would never be the same.